Welcome everyone. Today in this video I'm going to show you how to record your N64 games while using the Elgato HD60S and using an upscaler called the RetroTINK 2X-Pro, which is the one right here. Now I know a lot of people want to be budget on capturing their old retro games, which I understand, but just understand that you do cost yourself quality if you do try to record all retro games from an old capture card. Now I'm going to show you everything how I set it up, the equipment, and of course the recordings and everything in this video. But you want to check out the timestamps. There's going to be some down in the description if you do want to skim over what I'm talking about right now. But I'm just going to show you everything entirely so that you understand what I did to figure out this whole solution. But of course, just understand this is the equipment I have. I have nothing much more better. I have nothing like another capture card or other connections. Nothing like that. This is all I have right now, and I'm going to show you that everything does work when you plug everything in, when you start recording, or you just want to play it on your TV. Okay, the very first thing that we're going to talk about is the equipment side. Now, of course, I have a normal N64 from when I was little, and it still works to this day, which is pretty damn amazing. But it's just a normal N64 with no modifications at all. Now for the capture card, of course, it's the HD60S. Now I know a lot of people have different Elgatos out there, and if you want to try that out, you can, but part of your mileage may vary depending if you do get a connection or not. But of course, it's both HDMI in and HDMI out. So that's what we're going to use today for our capture card. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is the upscaler and converter boxes. Now a lot of people will mostly have this one, which is the AV to HDMI, which is the composite to, of course, HDMI, and of course you got a USB powered, which you gotta change it to 720p or 1080p. Now I do not use this one at all. The only reason why is because it is composite, and I know a lot of people want to be budget on capturing old retro games, but don't use this one, guys, because at the end of the day the quality is just bad with composite. I'm just saying that right now. Composite just sucks. That's all I could say. Just don't use it. But we're going to use another different connection now. The other one I have here is called the Inco YPBPR to HDMI 1080p scaler, and this one is basically component just like the RetroTINK 2X Pro. But the problem with this one is that I did try to use the composite and it doesn't work. So the yellow will mostly go to, of course, the green connector over here, and then the audio jacks go over here. But it still didn't work. As you can see here, I got HDMI out, 720p and all that. It did not work. So some converter boxes out there may work if you do not have, of course, composite for your inputs, but you do have component. Sometimes it might work, sometimes it doesn't, but at the very end of the day, I think this one costs like around $50 or $40, so you know, it depends if you want to be that budget friendly. But at the same time, you don't know if it will work or not if you use composite. Now the very last one, which is my favorite, which is the RetroTINK 2X Pro. As you can see here, if you want more information, you can go to their website right there, www.retrotink.com, to get more information about it. But I do have the 2X Pro version, which is, of course, it has S-Video, composite, and component. Just gotta zoom in a little bit so you can get a much more better look. Now as you can see here with the RetroTINK 2X Pro, yes, it has S-Video, component, and also composite, which you could put right here on the green connector right here. But everything that we're going to use is S-Video only. As you can see here, this is how it looks. We're going to connect everything with S-Video because it's much more better quality than composite. Now I know there's a component cable which is mostly for the Super NES. Now I've seen people try to test it out with the N64, but apparently people are saying that it does not work with the N64 using the component Super NES cable. So we're just going to use S-Video for the moment. And of course in the back you do have a USB powered with a full HDMI connection, and of course these two buttons is to change the filter to a smooth or scanline filter, and of course the other button over here you change the inputs either S-Video, composite, or component. Now the last thing we're going to talk about is these two buttons over here, which is COM and mode. You want to keep everything at retro up here and line tune X, because with the original consoles or old original consoles were mostly meant at 240p, but thanks to the RetroTINK 2X-Pro we're able to double line to make it into 480p, so that we could get a much more better picture and much more better resolution, so that we could display it in our modern day television. Now if you do try to connect everything to your original console analog connectors to the back of your TV, it will work, but you're not going to get the best picture possible, because 240p, which is the very lowest resolution for a lot of these consoles. But thanks to the RetroTINK 2X-Pro, to double line it, we're able to get a much more better picture at 480p. And of course the last thing we're going to talk about is basically the connectors right here, which is the S-Video, which I did include with my purchase with the RetroTINK 2X-Pro. So I did include this, but it only cost me like just a couple extra bucks. But you could probably find some online if you want to, or maybe in the RetroTINK store or their website you could probably buy an S-Video cable with the, of course, audio jacks. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need for the equipment side, guys. Just remember that this is how I have everything. Everything's going to be connected with, of course, the RetroTINK 2X-Pro with S-Video, and of course in the back we have HDMI to connect it to our TV or the ElgatoHD60S. But right now we're going to go and set up everything so I can show you how everything works. Okay guys, so now I'm going to show you the setup and everything, but first thing is first, I recommend you that you update the firmware for the RetroTINK 2X-Pro, because the first time I got it I thought that my device got defected because I had audio but no video, so I was a little bit skeptical on like why it happened. But all you really need to do is to update the firmware, and it will save you a lot of trouble in case if it doesn't work out for the first time. Do update it. I'll leave a video down in the description on how to update the firmware. It's pretty simple, doesn't take up 5 minutes of your day to do it, so you don't have no issues like I said. But everything's connected, power's connected, we have the S-Video cable, it's very long, but I'm just showing you how I plug everything in. Of course there's the connector, S-Video with the audio jacks, we have the HDMI connecting over here to the HD60S on the input, and of course the other HDMI connecting to the TV, and my Type-C connecting to my PC to get the connection. Now the last thing is that you're USB powered. Now I'm using a standard wall charger. It could be whatever wall charger, or you could plug it to a USB port power. Whatever the case may be, however you want to do it, but I'm using a standard wall charger, and that's how I'm going to turn on the RetroTINK 2X-Pro. So that's how everything's connected. So now I'm going to plug in my USB charger or USB power adapter, whatever, to my connection. And you see there, that white line means that you are in S-Video mode. Now of course, if you want to change it, all you have to do is press this button right next to the HDMI port, and if you click it, if it's yellow, that is composite. Click it one more time. If it's green, using component, but we're going to leave it at S-Video. But of course, I do highly recommend you that you do power cycle the device, because sometimes the video quality might shift a little bit. So all you have to do is just take out the charger, leave it for like maybe 5 seconds, plug it back in, and everything should be good to go. Because once you check on your television, this is what you should have. If it shows that, that's fine. I mean, that's how everything's connected to the RetroTINK 2X-Pro, but that's fine. But right now, we're going to turn on my console right now, and hopefully it gets me a connection. There we go. And we're using Cruising USA for this demonstration, but as you can see there, everything's on, everything's connected. Just gotta hide a little bit of the sound, but there you go. Everything's connected. We have picture, we have audio, and let me just press start again. But there you go, guys. We got connection for audio and video with the RetroTINK 2X Pro, connecting on the ElgatoHD60S to the TV, and also powering from my PC with the Type-C port. But next thing we're going to do is trans over to my computer so I can show you how I record everything. Okay everyone, so now I'm going to show you how to record everything. Now there's two ways to record your retro games, either the software device for your capture card or using OBS Studio. Now I use both. Sometimes I don't use the other, however the case may be. But I'm going to show you both so that in case you do not want to use either OBS, or maybe you don't want to use the Game Catcher HD, you could choose either or. But I'm going to go first with the Elgato software, so I could show you guys how I plug in everything, how I show you how to change your settings and get the quality that you want for your N64 games. Now, as you can see here, now this might happen. Now, the only reason why this is happening is because I try to change some stuff with my OBS Studio, but of course, like I said, OBS Studio is also basically connecting to my capture card, which kind of shows that demonstration. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not working or it's messed up or anything. I mean, yes, it is messed up, but as you can see here, just exit, plug it back in, and you should be good to go. See, just a little bug right there that has happened. But if I click right here, you are going to hear sound. So I'm just going to show you guys right now. So as you can see there, we do have audio nice and clear. And of course, we do have a picture. Now, of course, over here in the settings, or the output, is at 720 by 480 at 5994. Now, for my settings that I have here, as you can see, I have it at other. I don't have it anywhere else. I have it at other with standard for the color range. Now, if I do change it to expand, probably you don't see the difference in the picture right here on the preview screen. But if you look at your television, you will see that with the expand color range, you have a brightness, much more brightness on the video on your TV. So I highly recommend you to just keep it as standard, because for whatever reason, I'm just saying this right now, for whatever reason, there's too much brightness in expand. So just keep it at standard. Now, profile, I just keep it at 1080p. I mean, if you do try to change it to standard right here, everything will be at 30 frames per second. And it is fine. But just understand, when you do this, you're not going to get the greatest quality if you have it at that profile. So I mostly just keep everything at 1080p. Right here, your main output is going to be at 720 by 480 at 5994 frames per second. And everything else, I keep it at best quality, you know, to get the best picture possible. Allow 60 frames per second. And everything else down here, I just keep it how it is. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so right now, guys, now I'm going to do a demonstration right now on this video. And I'm just going to show you how everything will work. Once you hit that record button and you finish recording, you are going to see a difference between your resolution for your video when you try to put it on your, of course, video editing software, depending on what resolution you're going to try to output it to. So let's say 1080p will be your final resolution video, but since our gameplay video is at 480p, we're going to have to scale it so that it could fit perfectly in our 1080p video. But right now I'm going to hit that record button so you can see for yourself how everything looks. Okay, everyone, so now I hit the record button on the capture card itself. So right now we're going to go to right here, I think LA Freeway. And as you can see from the video, this is originally the video output resolution, which is at 480p. And right now the output of this video is at 1080p. So you can see from the video itself that it's pretty small, like very, very small. Now, that's the only reason why is because of the Elgato capture card is outputting everything at 480p. So that's how much it is at 1080p for 480p content. Now, the only thing you could do is just to scale the footage. As you can see here from the video, I just scaled the footage of the gameplay of Cruising USA, and now everything looks a little bit more better at a much more better resolution, which is at 1080p. Now you could do the same thing with 720p or even go higher, but just understand that if you're going to try to put this at 4K, I don't know how you could do that, but if you could do that, then that's amazing. But at the very end of the day, guys, I'm just capturing everything at S video. I don't have any other upscalers. I don't have 4K capture, nothing like that. And even the upscaler too, it's not like it could upscale everything at 4K or even HDMI modifications. So that's the only thing you have to worry about whenever you're going to try to capture gameplay and try to either output it at 1080p or 720p is to scale the footage on your video editing software. That's the only way you could do it. But of course, if you do try to play the video or whatever recordings you're doing on your computer, when you want to play it back, it's going to be at its original resolution, which is 480p. But that's how I do it, guys. That's how I output everything or try to scale everything in 1080p content for a lot of these retro games. But that's how I do it for the Elgato software. Okay, everyone, so now we move on over to OBS Studio, where I'm mostly going to show you how I record everything and all the settings and stuff like that. Now, I do not use Streamlabs OBS, but I think they're both similar programs, but I mostly use regular OBS Studio. But of course, I already have the program set up right here, and I'm just going to show you step by step how I have everything. But the very first thing is I go to File, go to Settings, and I go to the Video tab, and I have everything at 1080p, 60 frames per second, at 36 samples. Now, of course, a lot of people might only be able to go to 720p, which is fine. Do what you can, whatever resolution you have it at. But like I said, do what you can to whatever you can record at. But I have everything at 1080p because I'm able to record it at that resolution. But of course, if I want to go lower, I could go lower if I want to. But I have everything at that resolution. Now to output, and I go to output mode at advanced, and I go to recordings. These are all the settings I have. But don't worry, I will come back to this a little bit later at the very end of the video. But like I said, these are all the settings I have, but don't worry, I'll come back to it. So now we're gonna put everything, the video capture device, in our OBS Studio. So first thing is first, make sure you do have a scene right here. You just plus button, name it whatever you want to. And now we go to sources and you're going to press the plus button again. And then we're going to go to where it says video capture device. Now right here, you can name it whatever you want to. I'm just going to name it 60. And right there, you see the dot. That means it does shows us a video, which is right here on device. Now there's two versions of this, which is Game Capture HD60S and the other one Elgato Game Capture HD. Now I do not know what's the difference between both of them, or I don't know why there's two of them, but I know the original software will be this one, which is Elgato Game Capture HD. Now if I do switch it to that one, as you can see there, it did change a little bit, but if I go to configure video, it gives me the option to change right here. As you can see here, other, whatever I want to, standard, and allow, I need to change it right here. 1080p, 60 frames per second, all that stuff. But this is from the built-in software that you could use. Now, I do not use that because I do change right here in the resolution. I do change it to custom. When we go down here to custom, we only have 1080p, 720p, and 640 by 480. Let's see how 1080p looks. So as you can see there, oh boy. Yeah, the whole entire screen just stretched out pretty badly. And this is not the original aspect ratio for these retro games. But of course, if you do change it to, of course, 640 by 480, it will be very small resolution, as you can see right now, which is perfect, but that's the resolution. Now, I do not know how much of an impact it will be for the picture quality. That's why I do not use the very bottom one, which is Elgato Game Capture HD. I only use the very top one, which is perfectly fine, what I use all the time. But of course, we're going to go to config video. And of course, right here in signal status, I have it at 720 by 480, 6 frames per second, which we are going to put in the resolution tab. Now, of course, right here in the resolution tab, you have many other options of resolutions, but I'm going to keep it as original, how it's supposed to be, 720 by 480. Now, the one thing I'm also going to say is that between these two, I'm not sure which one gives a little bit of lag. So if you do try to play on your monitor right now or on OBS's preview window and everything, you do try to play it, I'm not sure which one gives out lag. So I mostly play everything on my television, of course, but I know a lot of people do have the option to I could play it on my monitor without turning on my TV, which is fine. You could do that, but I'm not sure which one gives out less lag. But do test it out for yourself. But I keep it at 720 by 480 frames. The frame rate, I keep it at 5994. Now, video format, I keep mine at YUY2 for this capture card. Now, for the other ones, I think they're meant for other capture cards, but since I don't have any other capture cards, I only have the HD60S. And I have researched, and so far, only YUY2 is pretty much recommended for this capture card. But of course, I do not remember what was the video that talked about that, but you do have to search up videos or search up your own research on that. But all I remember is that for this capture card, I keep it at YUY2. Now for color space and color range, I keep both at default. But if you do want to change them, I keep mine at 709, and color range, I keep it at partial. But that's pretty much it. That's how I have everything, and all you gotta do is press OK. And now we have our footage, but it's very small. If we right click, go to transform, and then we center to screen, This is how small it is. As you can see there from the little blue square area, that's how small it is. Now we could change that, but what we need to do is, of course, again, right click one more time, or let me click on the video. Let me just center it one more time because I think I did move it by accident. So center the screen one more time, right click, go to transform again, edit transform. Now we're going to change the transform right here, our size, to a proper resolution to be scaled into our 1080p footage. But how do we do that? How can I change it without trying to stretch the image? Because if you do try to do it how I'm showing you right now, like this, it should be fine, right? It looks like, oh, that's pretty normal. That should be okay, right? But we go to right click, go to transform, go to edit transform. You kind of see that the size resolution is pretty different. Like it's not how it's supposed to be. So how do we get a proper resolution? So what we need to do first. So now we're going to transfer over to a website called RetroRGB. And right here we have 240p. And this is basically the original resolution for a lot of these games. And it's basically at 320 by 240. But when it comes to 480p, we have 640 by 480 or 720 by 480. But this is what is important. The original approximately resolution, which is at 320 by 240. Now we go down below, we have much more other resolutions for upscaling for 240p on modern televisions. We have 2x, 3x, 9x for 4K, and of course, we have 1080p. Now, which one do I choose for 1080p? I use 4x, which is 960. But what about the other resolution? As you can see here, we have the other resolutions for these other upscales. For 2x, it will be this one. For 3x, it will be 720. And of course, 9x will be, of course, 4K. But what is the resolution for, for 1080p? So we're going to bring out our calculator and we're going to just multiply. So 320 times 4 will be 1,280. And now we do 240 times 4. We got 960. So what we need to do next is, again, right click, go to transform, go to edit. We're going to change the resolution to 1280 by 960. We're going to close it, go to right click again, go to transform, and then center the screen. And that is the proper resolution when it comes to 1080p content. Now, of course, you could scale it, but I highly recommend you that you do it in your video editing software so that you don't overstretch or you mess up the resolution if you try to change it around here. So this is how it's supposed to look like for a lot of these retro games, or mostly N64, but also many other games back then. But the next thing we're going to do one more time is go to File, go to Settings, go to our output, go to Recordings. So right now, right here, as you can see here, we have an output mode at Advanced, and right here we have Recordings, and I'm going to go one by one. Right here on Type, I have it as Standard, and of course my recording path, I have it on another hard drive. But my recording format, I keep it at MKV. I do not keep it at MP4 because of this warning, as I'm going to show you right now, which is recording saved to MP4/move will be unrecoverable if the file cannot be finalized, such as results of blue screen of death, power loss, etc. If you want to record multiple audio tracks, consider using MKV and remix the recording to MP4/move after it is finished. And this has happened to me before, to where I was recording MKV, but then my computer suddenly blue screen And then when I went back to see if my file was still there, it was still there, but I couldn't play the video. So what I did next is just remix my video that I was recording at the time, and I was able to get everything back, which is truly amazing. So I keep mine in NKV. Now, audio tracks, now you do record multiple audio tracks. You will click these other ones if you want to, but it depends on you how you want to do it. And now the next one is encoder. Now I'm using my NVIDIA encoder. Now, of course, you could use X264 for your CPU, but your mileage may vary depending on how good of a CPU you have versus how good of a GPU you have for your encoder. But you use whatever you want to, but I use the NVIDIA encoder. Now we have rate control right here. Now the two that I have used most of the time will have to be CBR and VBR. Now lossless, you're going to have a very huge file size, which is pretty bad. And you do not want to do that. But if you do not have enough hard drive space, then you will either use CBR or VBR. Now they're basically both different, but they are kind of similar. But with CBR, which is constant bitrate, at a consistent rate, you have it at 30,000 kilobytes. So 30,000 kilobytes all the way throughout the video. But when you change it to VBR, you have your target bitrate, which is, 3,000 kilobytes, but your maximum bitrate is at 60,000 kilobytes, which I have it at. And the reason why I have it like this, just in case there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of, different types of action scenes or whatever the case may be, I have enough bitrate so that I could get that extra bitrate to be, compressed into my video so it could look nice and clean. Unlike CBR, everything is only going to be at 30,000 kilobytes. So that's how I have it for those two. But I mostly keep mine right now for VBR or CBR. And of course, right here at keyframe interval, I keep it at 2. Preset, I keep it at max quality, of course, for the better quality. Profile, I keep it at high. Now for look ahead visual and cycle visual tuning, just keep them checked, whatever the case may be, but I do not know very much about them. But hey, the more the better, and the more options, whatever. And of course, the very last one is, of course, GPU. Now you have more than one GPU, then you will have to select one or two. But since I only have one, I just keep it at 0. And max speed frames, I keep it at 2. But other than that, guys, that's how I have it for my settings. I just click apply, click OK. And now I am ready to record right now for my gameplay of this video. So that's what I'm going to show you right now, a little example, how everything looks in my video editing software. And I'm just going to let the game play itself so you can see for yourself how everything looks with the OBS Studio setting.